Oh, media party, you are such fun, aren't you? Harper goes to Israel, and the hacks will go to any length to misinterpret, distort, and obfuscate what has happened. The latest is Sasha Petrovich of the CBC, explaining that the Israeli media have paid very little attention to Stephen Harper's trip to Israel, and that those that did were rather critical of him. The latter part of his argument rather contradicting the former, I suppose. Sorry, Sasha, but I know the Israeli media pretty well. And not just the lefty Haaretz newspaper, which seems to be about the only Israeli paper Canadian reporters actually read. It's notorious amongst Israelis, by the way, for its radical views, and it doesn't speak for the people out there at all. Israeli TV and radio, they run enormous amounts of coverage of the Prime Minister's visit, and the response of the Israeli people, it's been overwhelming. Worse than all this, though, was a groaning effort by someone called Tu Thunha, alleging that, wait for it, an anti-gay Christian minister is travelling with Harper to Israel. Here's a taste of our state broadcasters' objective journalism.
The things we are doing here at Crossroads.
In fact, one delegate, Don Simmons, is with a missionary group that got tangled up in a messy controversy last year after referring to homosexuality as a sexual sin.
Why would they have people with these values and these opinions as part of such an important delegation?
Shock, horror among the more than 200 people accompanying the Prime Minister. Most of them, hardly ever meeting him, by the way, is a Christian minister or two who dares to hold Christian views about the nature of sexuality. Now, the one they highlighted, the Reverend Sean Ketchson, is from Ottawa's Trinity Bible Church. I've never heard of this man, I have to say, and to be honest, he sounds a bit of a bore. But that he holds evangelical views about sexuality isn't really earth-shattering, surely. But the Globe has no doubt that this is positively Hitlerian in proportions. In an unintentionally hilarious line, the author of the article writes, quote, "On at least 2 occasions recorded on his church's website, he is critical of homosexuality." Good God, at least 2? Incredible, outrageous. He is then revealed to have quoted the Bible. I mean, on a church website. Where will it end? That 99% of what this man says is not about homosexuality at all, and that when he does actually talk of sexuality, he's way more critical of heterosexual lust than anything else. That's apparently irrelevant. The Globe is outraged that a man who believes in a Bible written by Jews, believes in a Jewish Messiah, is now visiting a Jewish state lived in by lots of Jews. But then Mr. Ketchson goes even further, this minister, and it's deep and it's dark and it's horrible. Quote, "Reached in Israel by email," writes the effusive Tu Thunha, Mr. Ketchson said he couldn't be available for comment. "Thanks for your interest in the message. I am presently out of the country and will be pleased to talk with you when I get back at the end of the week. Sorry that I can't be more accommodating at the moment." What a total bastard. Quick, contact NDP Foreign Affairs critic Paul Dewar. Yeah, you didn't know that Droopy Dewar was the Foreign Affairs critic. Actually, most of us didn't. This is what he said. "Homophobia doesn't represent Canada. It represents discrimination that the government must condemn at home and abroad. The Prime Minister must explain why he chose the people on his delegation." Whoa! OK, now off to Liberal Foreign Affairs critic Mark Garneau. Quote, "I find it regrettable that his delegation includes someone who is homophobic," Mr. Garneau said. But hold on just one homophobic moment. First, let's see how gay people are treated in Israel. Golly, was that a bear bum I saw? Now, this is very different. Here is how gay people are treated in the Islamic world, in Iran and the Arab states. OK? Yet, the NDP's deputy leader, Libby Davis, who champions the radical Palestinian movement and the government of Gaza, where gay people are arrested, tortured and murdered. We have the NDP rank and file frequently supportive of Arab governments that have criminalised homosexuality and where gay men and women are executed. Then we have the Liberals, led by Justin Trudeau. Little Justin spoke to a conference just last year as some of the most radical Islamists in North America. This group included many people who don't merely oppose same-sex marriage. They believe that homosexuality is a capital offence. In other words, that ordinary gay people should be publicly hanged. When gay groups, understandably, asked to meet with Justin, he said he didn't have the time. He also condemned Jason Kenney and the Tories when they opposed female genital mutilation and honour killings, and has consistently reached out to imams and Muslim activists who are violently anti-homosexual. There are many NDP MPs who are opposed to Israel and supportive of Fatah and even Hamas. Former NDP stalwart Svend Robinson, still a hero of the party, declared that when it came to Israel and Palestine, he had chosen sides and the side was Palestine, where he, as a gay man, will be taken to prison, tortured, beaten, killed. How grotesque. The fatuous Globe political pamphlet then lists Don Simmons, you saw this earlier, as chairman of Crossroads Christian Communications, a large Christian organisation, it says, based in Burlington, Ontario. The piece claims that Crossroads made headlines last year after the Canadian press reported that it referred to homosexuality as a sin on its website. Well, not quite. As soon as this obscure reference, and it was obscure, was found by the people at Crossroads, in shock, they removed it and they apologized. Responsible gay groups and gay leaders accepted all of this without reservation and actually thanked Crossroads for their actions. Now, I worked at Crossroads for 13 years. I hosted almost 3,000 television shows there. Regulars on my show were Jack Layton, Dalton McGuinty, Sid Ryan, Buzz Hargrove, NDP MPs, Liberal MPs, MPPs, most of the country's gay leaders over and over again. They never had a problem with how they were treated. They returned repeatedly, and they lauded the place as a centre for free speech and open dialogue. And when Don Simmons, a nice and gentle guy, isn't even at Crossroads anymore, he was replaced as CEO last year. But then the Globe has to be consistent in its absurdity. Okay, let's finish with, yep, the Jews. How about going after Rabbi Reuven Balka? One of the nicest men I've ever met. I mean, he's a revered figure. He received the Order of Canada last year. He's worked all of his life for community peace and Canadian pluralism, a lovely man. But, says the Globe, quote, he's a former member of the Scientific Advisory Committee for the National Association for Research and Therapy of Homosexuality. NARTH, what an acronym, describes itself, it says, as an organization dedicated to the service of people who experience unwanted homosexual attractions. Now, unwanted. So if you're fine with being gay, yeah, you're fine, whatever. It's for those people who aren't. You might not like it, but that's what they're saying. Balka also said, though, he refutes many of NARTH's beliefs, doesn't agree with them. So why mention his name at all? You know why, to attack Stephen Harper. Yeah, this is poor, pathetic, juvenile, politically driven nonsense, and the Globe should reprimand this excuse for a journalist right away, but it won't. It won't. It's Harper derangement syndrome, old boy. Harper derangement syndrome.
And I do hope that although it bears my name, you will all think of this as a part of you as Jewish Canadians whenever you come here.
Canada and Israel share a common love of.
So we thought, can we find someone who is a conservative and gay and a Christian and maybe a medical doctor as well? And we found one! Dr. Roy Epen in Montreal joins us right now. How did you react to this Globe and Mail article and the CBC coverage?
Well, I sort of laughed. You know, they keep trying to say that the Conservative Party is homophobic, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if they've been to my. I've had two parties at the Conservative conventions in the last two conventions were called the Fabulous Blue Tent, where we had a suite to show that gay conservatives were there, and we had hundreds of guests, and everyone always said it was the best party, and we had many members of the cabinet there, and you know. The Conservative Party does all kinds of things to help gay people here and abroad. I mean, we see John Baird and Jason Kenney and now Chris Alexander helping gay people coming from some of the places you were talking about get to Canada and not be murdered. We've denounced Uganda when they've you know, executing people for being gay is wrong, and you know we oppose that. We've denounced those kind of things all over the world. So to say that, you know, because, I mean, I'm Christian. I don't necessarily agree with the position of this particular pastor, but I absolutely agree with his right to quote those scriptures.
Yeah.
I mean, I will argue the scriptures with him if he wants, but...
And look, you probably argue them with me as well, but the point is we will discuss over a drink, enjoying each other's company, respecting one another and protecting each other's civil rights and human right to speak out. Israel is a country that replicates that approach. They believe in free speech and expression. All of their neighbors, not some, all of their neighbors have a different point of view. Lebanon, with a large Christian minority, is the only Arab country where there has actually been a conference for gay people. They had to have police and army security protecting them from the rest of the country.
Yes, and I always am quite struck by the fact that people in this country are all too eager to attack often marginal Christian speakers who make sometimes very regrettable comments. Mm-hmm. While, you know, you could actually talk to people who are much more reasonable to discuss the issue. I mean, you know, even some of the evangelical groups in the States are saying, you know, they perhaps think that being gay is a sin, but it's not the only sin, and they have to remember the second part of the Great Commandment, which is to love thy neighbor.
Well, nothing makes any sense without that. And if they believe that being gay is sinful, they misunderstand the teaching of Scripture. It's much more nuanced than that. However, we're not here to discuss theology. This is such a double standard. I mentioned in the monologue that Justin Trudeau spoke just last year to a group of radical Muslims who have the most repugnant views about homosexuality and gay people. And when he was asked to reconsider, he said, no, I'm not going to. There's a vote to be had there. I didn't see the Globe and Mail and the CBC attacking and exposing that man when he did that.
Well, I mean, you also know that it's open season on Christians and conservatives. I mean, that's always been the case, because we, you know, when you insult Christians, we generally don't have riots and burn things down.
No.
So, you know, they seem to be afraid of other groups, and I guess they're so politically correct now that no other group can actually say anything that offends them. Only people from Canada who are Christian and or conservative. I mean, yeah. The double standard is quite shocking. I'm a strong supporter of Israel. I was extremely proud of what the Prime Minister said in Israel, and I'm glad the trip is going so well. And, you know, when Prime Minister Harper went to the Wailing Wall, people clapped.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, it is. By the way, these parties you have at these Tory conferences, would you even let a terrible man like me come in one year?
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. We welcomed everyone. At the one in Calgary, we had a couple of Liberals showed up to see. They said that the gay Tories probably
really?
Party better.
Well, if Liberals are going to be there, there is no way I'm going to. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, nice talking to you, Michael.